Hi you guys, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how I made the edible pennant that goes on top of this tiger cake. If you want to see how I made the full tiger cake, you can head on over to cakeheads.com. Okay, I'm starting off with Flex Frost edible fabric sheets. And what I've done is I have created the image that I want on my pennant, and I've created that in PicMonkey.com, and I've printed it out onto the edible fabric sheet, just a regular white one, using my edible printer. And now I have another medium that I'm using for this project as well, and that is wafer paper. And I just ordered my wafer paper on Amazon. And what I'm going to do is use 2 pieces of wafer paper and ultimately stick my edible fabric sheet with the print on it onto the wafer paper. First, here I have a wooden dowel, which is about 18 inches long. I'm going to use the full dowel for this project because I'm going to sharpen one end, and it's actually going to be used as a stake down the center of my cake as well. Since it's a 3-tier cake, I can use that to help me dowel that cake, putting a stake down the center of it. So it actually kills 2 birds with 1 stone, which is lovely in the world of cake. Okay, so now I've got a little bit of water, and I've got my first sheet of wafer paper, and I'm just running a line of water once, and then next to it a second time. We don't want too much water on wafer paper. We know that water and wafer paper are friends. They like each other, but they don't really love each other. You know what I mean? If you add too much water, it's going to start to disintegrate your wafer paper, and we definitely don't want that. We want this wooden stake to hold nicely onto the wafer paper. So you can see it also warps the wafer paper a little bit, which is totally fine because sticking this stake on there, it's going to hide where the wafer paper is warped, and it's also going to stick nicely to the wooden stake. And so I've just kind of, you saw me lay it on the edge there, and then I just rolled it a tiny bit so that it is sticking on well. And that worked beautifully. Okay, so now I'm going back to my image printed on the edible fabric sheet, and I'm going to cut it out. Now, I have not peeled the edible fabric off of the plastic backing here, so just keep that in mind. I'm cutting through the fabric and the plastic backing. I'm leaving a little black edge along the side of the white, just because I think that that will add a little bit of something to my pennant. Carefully taking that edge off there and cutting the other side as well. Okay. We are going to use shortening to attach the edible fabric to the wafer paper. We don't want to use water because water, like I said before, will distort the wafer paper, and that just ruins everything. So I'm going to peel my edible fabric off of its backing, and then I'm just wiping some shortening onto the back of it. I kind of started on the edges, but then I ended up also wiping it onto the middle as well. Just a little bit of shortening, and it really sticks really well onto the wafer. I'm adding it now up at the top, and I'm just leaving a little edge between the print and the end of the wafer paper because we are going to now stick this wafer paper onto the first sheet. So we're just going to run a little bit of water onto the wafer paper that's on the pole here, and we're going to line up the first sheet with the second and just gently place it on top of that pole. And the water is going to cause that second piece of wafer paper to stick to the first piece. So you might have to just kind of roll the edge a little bit there. You might even need just a tiny bit more water. Remember, not too much. We don't want to disintegrate anything. We just want it to stick nicely. Okay. Now it's stuck onto the pole, but it's still not, they're not stuck to each other, the sheets, and we want them to be. So I'm using a little bit more shortening, not water, shortening. And I'm just covering the back of that top sheet of wafer paper with the shortening, and then flattening that bottom piece against it so that it sits nicely. And then I'm going to use some scissors, not sinners, scissors, and I'm gonna cut along the edge there, leaving a little bit of a white border because I liked that look for the pennant. And then I'm using my X-Acto knife when I get towards the edge just to carefully cut that wafer paper so it still looks nice and even and doesn't get all messed up on me. I'm using scissors because I thought it might be a little bit easier than holding a ruler on top of the edge there. Since we have that wooden stake, it wouldn't lay flat and I didn't want it to get all funky on me, so I figured scissors was the best bet. And then I'm gently just kind of cutting that bottom edge there so that I can then take the wafer paper off. Now actually I want the rest of the wood to be covered in wafer paper, so I'm actually going to now wet another piece and put it back on there. But I did need to kind of cut that pennant shape at first, so if you can work it out where you leave the rest of the wafer paper on, then that's great. If not, you can just add more on the same way that you got that first piece of wafer paper on. Just add a little bit of water and then wrap it around the pole. And that is how you create an edible pennant, and it really stayed up well and looked great on top of my tiger cake. And again, like I mentioned before, if you want to see the full tiger cake tutorial, you will have access to all the tutorials on the website if you come and become a member of the Cake Heads family. We have a lot of fun over there, sharing and troubleshooting and just learning all things cake. So come on over and join us. We'd love to have you with us. Thanks for watching.